All right, Mike. So I just read your bio, so I'll just welcome you to the show here. I appreciate you coming on. How are you today?
Mike, I'm wonderful. I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So people know about your bio, but tell me who you are, where you're from, how you got here, and what you're up to these days.
Yeah, I'm originally from Chicago, a father of two, happily married, living out in California. I started my career in the world of finance and accounting, and somehow wound up in the world of like AI and innovation and all of that. And it was a fun journey. Currently, I'm at an AI center at San Diego State where I get to write and do all fun AI stuff and teach and all that in this really fun emerging world of AI.
Yeah. So with a lot of the students that we're working with, one of the big question is how do we use AI? How do we use it the right way?
Yeah,
At first it was just novel and it was exciting.
yeah,
If anybody remembers the paperclip from Word 95 or Word 97 and how bad that was, and
yeah,
then people are really excited about this. But on the academic side, folks are really worried about cheating. And
yeah.
on the student side, it's been more, the students that I work with anyway are just wondering, hey, how can I best use this to improve my study and make me more creative? Like they want it to improve themselves. So I don't know, what are your experiences there, and how are things going on that front?
I mean, look, I think you will see headlines that say like AI is making us dumber, and you will see headlines that say, wow, AI is making us smarter. And I think both of those things could be true. I mean, we as
Yeah.
human beings should be able to hold two contradictory thoughts in our heads at the same time. And I think it just comes down to how you are using this. If you're using the tool to just say, hey, I'm going to upload my syllabus for my class. I'm going to upload this assignment, and I'm just going to say, hey, generate a B plus paper that kind of sounds like a ninth grader. It's going to do that. It's going to do fine, and you're not going to learn a damn thing. And you know
Right.
what? You might be able to get a B plus paper. It might get past the AI censors that the teachers may or may not have. Like, sure, you can do that. But like there's a whole nother path out there where you can use these tools to just like really magnify your interest. And one, like teachers should be doing this. And that's a whole separate conversation we could have, Mike, on how teachers should be using this in the classroom and can use this in the classroom to make a better experience for them and for the students. There's a lot
Right.
that can be done there. But that aside, if you're just a student in the class, there's so many different ways. I would be, to be able to. There was a study that was done out of Nigeria, which is kind of the one side of the equation, where they gave AI tutors to the students, and everything else was the same. And after a year, they found they actually gained an additional whole other like grade level of learning in that time because they had these tutors. Like, use these things as tutors. Like, that's an
Yeah.
amazing feature. I believe OpenAI actually has a tutor setting now that they just released in the past couple weeks. But if you're using another tool or not, you could literally say, hey, I want you to help me study. I want you to help me learn. I want you to explain these things in my terms. I'm really into football. And the more that you can use football analogies to explain these concepts of physics, to explain these concepts of whatever, please do so. Or I'm really into vampire stories. Give me vampire allegories as much as you can when explaining these other things to me, because that's a better way for me to learn. Like, there's just so much you can do. And the only problem I find is that because there are like infinite possibilities of
Yeah.
what it could return, that's when
You're
most
like,
people
don't even know
freeze
where to
up and just
start.
kind of don't do anything.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's fascinating to me though, because I've used it a lot over the last year. I used it as a teacher as well. One of the things that I really like about it is that it actually gets rid of the analysis paralysis a little bit and the
Yeah,
decision fatigue, right?
yeah.
Sometimes I'm trying to figure out what question to put on a test, and the truth is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which one I put on there or which wrong answers I throw out as red flags. And at least for me, using AI to say, hey, go ahead and pick one. Pick one of
Yeah.
the three that should go on here, and it kind of offloads some of that for you. And I've really enjoyed that. But I've also known
I,
a
I
lot of
use it for
students.
structuring as well. I mean, when
Yeah.
I'm teaching, sometimes if it's a brand new class, maybe one where I don't have expertise, I might go to a model like Claude or something, upload a couple past presentations, or upload some other information that kind of already knows my writing style because I've sort of trained it on that. That's a feature you can have. But
Yeah.
then I'll say, hey, this is what I'm writing about here. Just give me an outline. Like I do not want you to write the whole thing because I'm going to
Right,
add
right,
humor,
right.
I'm going to add my style, I'm going to add all this. But you know what? Get me from 25% of the way there. Like what might an outline look like? And that solves the blank page problem right there
Right.
to what you're saying, Mike. Of like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, I at least have this as a starting point, and I'm going to work and refine and take it from there. But it got me started.
The other thing I like about it is when you ask it to do something like that, which I've done, and then it gives you something you don't like, it gives you instant clarity that you didn't have before. So
Yeah.
sometimes recognizing the right
Yes.
answer is great, but recognizing, I don't want that at all, gets you around that blank page a little bit. Say, well, at least I know what I don't want, and that's a huge step in the right
Yes.
direction too.
Um, One of the skills that's going to matter more and more to people in the future is, frankly, judgment. And whatever you want to call judgment, just to know that this
Yeah.
is good, this is not good. And this is the style that I'm going for and all that. Like it's taste matters much more than, actually knowing a coding language or something like that is going to matter in the future. All these things and however you define that. So, yeah, it can give you infinite possibilities. And you're totally right. Just getting a whole bunch of bad or dumb answers sometimes will get you to what the right answer should be.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned AI, using AI to help you write. And if you go to your website, which I'm on right now, you've
Yeah.
got some AI humor writings on here. So give me the backstory behind that and what's going on there.
So to even go back further, I was at PayPal. I was running what was the innovation group at the time, and it was like it was the best job. Anything to promote innovation, creativity in the company. It was like, okay, I had free reign to do whatever it was, as long as it didn't cost too much money, frankly.
Right.
I love to read, and I just started inviting authors in. If anybody is out there at a company or anything like that, this is a great hack because you can get speakers who might charge $25,000 to speak on the
But
speaking
authors are trying to
circuits.
sell a book.
But if they got a book coming out and you say, hey, I'm
Nice.
going to pre-order sometimes even just 100 copies of it,
Yeah,
they'll be
yeah.
like, yeah, I'll do that. They'll definitely do an hour over Zoom.
Yeah,
And
for
I,
sure.
being in Silicon Valley, they're often out there like, okay, yeah, I'll stop by and do that or whatever. And so I got all these speakers. So
The genius
I
move.
think I counted at one point, so it was like 120 authors I
That's
hosted when I
awesome.
was at PayPal. And just having all these conversations, because, I sometimes have, coffee or something with them beforehand. It was just like, oh boy, I should be writing more. Like I love to read and, I
Yeah.
should be doing this. So back in 2021, I actually started going back to school part-time, getting an MFA in writing. So I'm doing
Oh,
that. I'm
wow.
actually graduating this year, 4 years later.
Congrats.
I'm
Yeah.
a 48-year-old who decided to go back to school to get a writing
I
degree.
love it. I love it.
Um, and it's just been a fun ride. But one of the things I've been doing ever since 2021 when I started, look, I'm the weird tech guy in the MFA class. So I've
Yeah.
always been kind of introducing technology. And I remember my first class in 2021. This was GPT-3. So this was at least a year
Mm,
before ChatGPT had come out. And I
yeah.
taught to my professor, like, hey, can I integrate some of this stuff? Can I do this? I was writing a thing about a AI president. It was just a fiction piece I was writing. I'm like, can I actually have, if I flag it, can I have the AI write stuff? It's so funny. Like he was like, "What are you talking about?" Just beyond
It's
confusion. 'Cause this is
mind blown.
2021.
Yeah.
But I did that. He was very open to it. And little sidebar. He actually writes. He's written for Wired now. He actually wrote an AI piece. His
Oh,
name is
okay.
Sam Apple. If anybody wants to check out, he wrote an amazing piece on people who are dating their AIs within the past couple months. So it's a
Yeah.
great piece in Wired. Like very pressing to the future, but like back 4 years ago, he's like, what the heck are you talking about? So it just got
Yeah.
me down this path. And Mike, so, I write by myself about AI, but I also use the AI to write. And then I just write about other stuff that interests me. And I've just kind of gotten the knack of humor writing over time. I took a class in that. I found that basically anybody can submit to these publications that are out there. Most of them don't pay you anything.
Yeah.
But it's just cool to see your name in print on it. I will say
Yeah.
AI don't do humor very well,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's a really fun creative exercise for anybody who wants to try. You just need to be comfortable with failure, which I know you have talked about many times on your podcast, and we were talking about
Yeah.
before. When you're doing a joke, the first 10 versions aren't going to be funny. It's,
Right.
it's honing again and again and getting feedback and bouncing it off of people till you finally get something like, oh, that's how it lands. Because it's sometimes just moving a word. It's all these things. Like when you see a special on Netflix or HBO, this has been an act that's been honed over the last year, and you're seeing
Oh
the end
yeah, yeah.
result.
In hundreds of small,
Yeah,
comedy shops and
yeah.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
You're Chris Rock. You just don't get up there and do a 1 hour special. You have honed this thing over time, and
Yeah, that's
that's a
right.
process that we all have to go through.
Yeah. So I want to back up a little bit because you're a
Sorry, so
tech.
I go all over the
No, you're
place. My
fine.
apologies.
You're a tech guy at PayPal, and
Yeah.
I know you said that you brought in a lot of authors, and that's what kind of inspired you. But there's a difference between just saying, "Hey, I'm going to write," I'm going to start just doing a lot of writing, a lot of reading and writing, and then actually going through the MFA program. So like, what prompted you to go to the MFA program, and then what has your experience in that been?
Great question. Great question. So, the summer before that, so it was summer 2020, COVID, whatever, all this stuff. A good friend of mine, who is a junior high English teacher, I kind of say to her, "Hey, I think I want to write more. I was a math and science kid, even just kind
Yeah.
of growing up. I sort of didn't really pay much attention to the English classes and all that stuff. I'm like, can you teach me over the summer?" And that's where I started. I was
Yeah.
like, hey, I want you to just teach me. Like, up level it a little bit, but just give me some writings. Like, I don't even read fiction. Pretty much all that I read, even to this day, is nonfiction, but challenge me a little
Yeah.
bit. Do that. And, we like each other. We'll do an hour conversation. I will do all the homework. And that's where I started, was literally
Nice.
just taking 8 weeks out of the summer doing that, her challenging me to write, giving me some assignments, and just doing homework.
Yeah.
Um, Now, if you don't have a wonderful junior high school teacher in your life, you can have an AI do the exact same thing.
ChatGPT. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
I mean,
sure.
have ChatGPT be your teacher. Say, I want you to develop this curriculum. This moron who was talking on a podcast was talking about something he did with a junior high teacher. I want you to do the same thing with me. Let's focus and use ChatGPT to do that. So that was the test that I put out. Like, and Mike, I think with all things in life, as much as you can just test things to see, okay, is this really worth my time? Is this really worth the commitment? That was the test. It seemed to work out. I applied to one school and one school only the next summer. And I was sort of like, hey, if I get in, great. And if I don't, well, that's okay.
Yeah.
And I got in. I was still working on PayPal at the time, and I was, doing these things part time, just kind of in evenings and all that. And look, some of it was really painful, like because
Yeah.
again, and there was a fiction and a nonfiction track. I was in the nonfiction track, but there was
Mm.
all these fiction stuff I had to do, and I was having to read Russian literature, and I'm like, this is hard. It's really
Right.
hard to do that.
Yeah.
But it's good to have a forcing function like that. And you have these conversations and, over Zoom, you meet classmates and all this other kind of stuff. Like, if I was doing it full time, it would have been tougher, but like, it was really gratifying. And so right now I'm at the point I'm doing my thesis and kind of
Yeah.
pulling together all the thoughts I've had and things I've had published and didn't have published and sort of at the end of the road. But it was an amazing experience that just opened me up to many other ideas. And it's funny now, Mike, I'm saying, okay, well, do I go back to school again after this?
Yeah.
I don't know. I might. Who knows?
The lifelong learners out there are just pumped. I know.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
want to ask you about your thoughts before you embarked on this journey. Like, try to think back to many years maybe before the MFA experience, and even before the authors that you were bringing in at PayPal. If someone had come to you and said, "Hey, are you a writer?" or do you have the capability to be a good writer? I imagine, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I know what I would say. Because I would say, no, I'm a
Yeah,
math and science guy, right? That's what
yeah,
yeah, my
yeah.
background is in physics, and that's what I do. That's what I'm good at. And it's so funny because we're often blind to the advice that we give people. I get people in math all the time that say, well, I'm just not a math person. And my answer is, of course you're not a math person. You don't do it all the day. You don't do it all the
Yeah.
time every day. It's something you
Yes.
just have. It's a practice, guys. It's not an innate capability. Every now and then there's a genius that is born with some crazy capability, but the 99.9% of us no one's born with just this natural talent for math. It has, someone has to be aggressively curious. They have to play around with it. They have to fail a ton, and they have to get good at it.
Yeah.
And I imagine you might have had a response like, "Well, I'm not a writer. I'm not an
Oh,
English person," and I just don't think that's true. I think it's a lie we all convince ourselves about topics that we're not good at or that we didn't care for when we were younger.
defeating self-talk like that is something that I very much have. I think it's something that we all, I mean, outside of sociopaths, we all have that,
Yeah,
right? I
exactly.
mean, I think that is something that's very natural, and we need to, ask the question. I think you just said, like, well, would you be talking this way to other people, the way you're kind of putting yourself down, the way you're putting yourself in a bucket and so forth? One of my favorite quotes about writing is from Ernest Hemingway, and he said, and I will paraphrase, not getting explicit on your thing, but basically, all first drafts are crap.
Yeah,
But he
yeah,
used a
yeah. I've
little bit
heard
more
that one.
explicit term than crap for that.
Yeah,
And that's true. And that's true if
yeah,
you're Ernest Hemingway. It's true if you're Shakespeare. That's true if you're Mike Todasco. Like, it doesn't matter. It's
yeah,
a process of going through this. It's just doing the reps. It's writing every day. It's doing all of those kinds of things. It's, when you're reading a book, thinking of it with a little bit more of a creative lens. Like not just reading it for enjoyment, which you can still do, but also looking at structure and trying to appreciate things and taking notes in the margin and all that other stuff. And if you do that, like suddenly you will become a good writer as well. If you're in the grocery store and you're like doing percentages off and stuff like that, just like in the world around you, you will start to become a little bit better at math as well.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's
exactly.
just like you said, it's where you want to focus your time and energy is where you are going to be able to excel.
For sure. Tell me more about what you're doing at SDSU right now in the AI lab.
So I get to write about AI stuff there, which is fun.
Yeah.
In the lab itself, we do a lot of work with robotics and things like that. So there's some robot that we actually have in the lab. I am based in Northern California, so
Oh,
I
okay.
do get to tinker and mentor sometimes with folks down there, but for the most part, I'm remote. So the things that I do in research, the major area I'm focused on right now is the perception of human versus AI created works and the
Hmm.
gaps across cultures, across countries, across even different age levels that people have in that. And so that's kind of where I'm focusing my research right now within the lab because we're entering a world. Let me kind of get to the well, why is that important?
Yeah.
Um, we're going to enter a world where we are going to have choices between, the AI work and the human created work. You will be able to see the Scorsese movie, or you will be able to see the movie that is customized just for you with your friends in it, with whatever it might be, following your plot line or whatever, and it's going to be able to render that on the fly.
Yeah.
That's a few years away, but that is kind of the future we're moving towards right now. I think these two things are going to exist in the future. I think there's going to be a lot more gray area in the middle of like, well, they use, just like if you go back 40 years, people thought like computer generated effects and things like that, CGI. Well, that's not real movie making. You should use
Right.
practical effects. You should use models. You should use whatever. And eventually we all accepted that. I think we will get to all accepting that as a society with AI as well,
Yeah.
as being integrated in some way. But like, where is that line and how are we going to look at that and kind of treat that as a society? Because more and more, it's going to be not just a solely human made work, but it's going to be more of a human hybrid created combination.
Yeah. Do you think, I wonder, for me, as I've gotten older, and maybe this is an experience that other people have had too, and is that I feel like I've shifted more towards wanting to experience fully human work. So just as a
Hmm.
simple example, I really want, we live in Maryland, so we're not far from New York, but I really want to spend more time going to see Broadway shows
That's
and
exactly where I
seeing,
was going with that too.
yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
seeing
Yeah.
real people that have
Yeah.
2 hours worth of lines memorized, right? And have an actual intimate experience. And what we were talking earlier, you were talking about comedy shows, right? And you're watching Chris Rock doing his hour-long special, but one of the greatest and I love stand-up comedy, which is why I bring that example up. But I have been to a few like big arenas with the comedian, and even if they kill it, for me the experience sucks. I would much rather be in a dark, dingy bar
Yeah.
with 14 people in there with a local comic
Yes.
who's crushing it, right? So I
Yeah.
wonder if as these things come out, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the entertainment and the big movie space. But I wonder if more people might actually go see live plays, go see live comedy, and try
I
to get
hope
that.
so. I
Yeah,
mean, I hope so, and I think so. I mean, and I think that that's probably a good semi counterintuitive way to, if you were like investing in what the future is going to look like in this post AI world,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I think that actually makes a lot of sense. If you really even think about, what are the best concerts you've been to? For me, yeah, I've seen stadium shows and things like that. It's not as cool as that show where there were 12 people there, and the band just like got drinks with you afterwards.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
chatted it
yeah,
up. Like
exactly.
like
Yeah,
there's nothing cooler than that.
yeah,
And that is we are very much attracted to others. And here's the
yeah,
great thing. This is the one downside of AI, like, that AI has in this world and why I don't think it's going to be just AI is going to do everything. I think
yeah,
we like to have a collective shared story, of we all see different feeds on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and all that kind of stuff. It's all completely different, completely customized for us. But, there are times where our feeds all kind of merge and we have like a collective experience.
yeah,
Films can be that. It could be, local theater can do that or something where you're just around a bunch of people and somebody screws up on the stage, and you know what,
yeah.
that's okay because they're human, and that actually makes
Right,
it more special that they flubbed a line and they went around it and whatever else. Like, that's
right.
okay. That's, when I really think about what the AI world is going to look like, it, especially getting into we brought up like AI boyfriends and girlfriends and things like that. Like,
I love it.
we are
Yeah,
somewhat, when things are too perfect, we're,
yeah.
we're driven away from it. And maybe that
The
means that
T9
AI is going
texting.
to
Yeah, yeah,
intentionally
yeah.
screw things up at some point. Maybe AI will be so perfect at some point that it'll actually have to degrade itself to be more human, but it's never going to be human. And ultimately, that is how our programming has us wired to
Yep.
be attracted to other things, other feelings, other actions that other humans are doing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. One more episode, right? One more. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah, yeah. I love it.
So this is a tangential I'm gonna get, but like this is exactly in the where you're going, I think, with this, Mike. So, just a couple weeks ago, I went online, I went to Best Buy, and I bought a new phone. And that
Yeah,
phone was a
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Nokia 4580 or something.
yeah,
I literally was like, not 7 days a week, but one day a week, I'm going to use a dumb phone. And like to text people, I literally got to hit like, the two button three times and all that.
yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, um, but and the reason why I did that is because like these devices, the non-dumb phones here that I'm holding up, they are built to engage us. Netflix former CEO said quite some time ago that somewhat
yeah,
tongue in cheek, but I think there's seriousness to it. Like, our greatest competitor out there is sleep, is what he
yeah,
said. And look, yeah. Yeah, I mean, these things are made to engage. They're made to. I see this with my kids, and I want to be a good
Cool.
example to my
Well,
kids who
I've
are
got
entering
two
their
more
teenage
questions. The
years
last one's the easy
of
one. That's
like,
where to find your work
hey,
and where to follow
don't let
you
the algorithm
and
drive
where
you
where
in
to
all
find your
your
writing. But
decisions and all of
before
your
that, I'd like
beliefs
to
and all of
ask
your
a more
feelings and
personal
all that.
question,
Like,
which is
there's so much good that can come
at
from
the end of your
phones,
life,
but
and
also
you're looking
like
back on everything that you've
you
done and
need to be
accomplished.
conscious about like
What do
deciding
you
whatever
consider to be
boundaries there are.
personal and
So,
professional
and I'm going to be writing
success?
about this in the
You've
next few
got
weeks. I usually
on the
write about AI
deathbed
stuff, but I was like, oh,
and
this is probably
you're
important enough to
going
just
through it
write about
all.
like the
What does
process I went
winning
through.
look
Like,
like to you
there's
in this
actually a
life?
whole process to like forwarding your number, in fact, where people can still reach you on your other device, even though I could have, the smartphone tucked away while the dumb phone is out in the world in case anybody does need to reach me. Um, but like, I think that becomes, I don't even remember what your question was, but it's inspiring me on this bike. But like, I think it is really important that we like kind of like, opt out of those things. That's where you were going with it. Yeah. It
I
was like
love that.
opt out where you
Yeah,
be strategic about those decisions. Decide where it is you do want to opt out.
yeah, yeah. That's
Yes.
funny. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so this hasn't been published, but I could say the study out there and just kind of where we're going with it. So effectively, here's how the very first thing we're putting out there is. So we have whatever a paragraph that's written by an AI, and there's three different treatment groups of that. One of them says
Yeah.
nothing, just here's a paragraph. I want you to rate it, evaluate it, how creative was it, blah blah blah. One of them, the second group, then same paragraph. This was written by an AI, and then you evaluate. Third paragraph lies and says it's a human. Exactly, exactly. And it makes up a bio. Actually, the AI made up a bio for a human and a name and all this other kind of stuff and all that for it. And of course, you disclose at the end the people who are in the third group, hey, it wasn't actually that.
That's
But then you
great.
just
That's a
start
great
comparing
answer.
the numbers
All
and you
right.
just do
Well,
it
then the
by
last one is
various
where
ways.
can we
It's a
find your
pretty
work?
simple
One, first, I'm
experiment,
really excited to see
but
the result of the
what it starts
experiment
to do is just
and your thoughts on it.
unleash,
So
okay,
keep us
how do we
surprised of that.
perceive
But where can people
creativity and
find
how
you
does that going to
and
change over time and how is that going to change by
get a hold of you if they
society?
have
Like,
questions?
I think for us in the US, like look, this is just part of being an American. I think we have a bias that the whole world works and thinks like us. I mean, I think we just, it like kind of dominates headlines and all this other kind of stuff. We just have that bias when in reality, like different cultures are very different. Like
Yeah,
Japanese culture thinks very differently
that's right. We all
about,
are.
AI and
Yeah,
robots and even things like copyright law in Japan is very different than the US where I think it was like 6 years ago, they
cool. Well, we'll
passed like
post
the
all that
first
stuff in the show
AI
notes. And Mike, really
copyright
appreciate you
legislation that
spending
basically
the time
said,
with us
hey,
today.
language
Thank you.
models can train on anything.
All
They
right.
don't
See
need
you.
to compensate for the copyright holder. Like, that's something in the US we're still very much batting around. Like, okay, how much, can a language model just take all my stuff, regurgitate that, learn from that, put stuff out there and not compensate me? That, like that doesn't fully feel right in many ways, but like these will be almost regional decisions that are made. But like that's the kind of stuff that we're trying to get into is understanding that and again how it's going to evolve over time because I think just because one group is negative today on AI may mean they're not as negative down the road or more negative, and like this is just going to be a way to constantly measure that. Yeah. Oh. So, winning is, God, I love that question. Winning is just that I tried at stuff and that I just gave it a shot. I remember being in my 20s. I was fresh out of college, and a buddy of mine who I was working with, about the same age, and I said, like, let's make a TV show. And we just like kind of started to do that. We didn't know what the hell we were doing. We loved like sketch comedy, the SCTV, SNL, Mr. Show, all that kind of stuff. We had this common thing where like it'd be fun to do that. And we worked on this thing for a year. And I remember like being 23 and having this exact same conversation. Like, we don't care if this was before YouTube, so it was actually hard to even distribute this stuff out there. It was like all public access TV shows. We had to like drive around dropping off VHS tapes to get like our show out there. But we just remember like having this exact same conversation, like of like we gotta try. And I think that's something that's always stuck with me. It's successes are great, they're wonderful, but like the thing that I think is most painful in life is just to know that you could have tried something and you just didn't. Either, yeah, I was too busy, even though this was my passion, and I just, chickened out. Whatever it is, like in your mind, like that's what I see myself on my deathbed obsessing over. And so I think I like to think of my life as being all these different things, all these different experiments that I'm trying, ways to help people, ways to help myself, ways to help my family, whatever it might be, but just trying all these things. And like a successful life is looking back and just saying like, okay, I tried all that stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love it. Look, I publish all my stuff online. Probably LinkedIn is the best place, but it's also Medium, Substack, same stuff in any of those three if you're more comfortable with any of them. It's all free stuff, all the AI stuff. I try to write to normal folk as well because I'm normal folk too. I'm not the super techie type, so I just write about that. And if people want to follow me there, message me in any of those platforms. I would love to help you out in any of your journeys. Been fun, Mike. Thanks so much.